Hello, my name is Matthew, and we're reading The Magic Mountain together for the month of November. The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. And I've been reading for the past few days, and last night I got to page 87, and I thought I would just talk a little bit about the beginning of the book. We already talked a little bit about the very beginning and how it starts straight away. We meet our hero of the story, Hans Castorp, and very quickly he makes his journey and has his arrival at the Sanitarium at the top of the Swiss Alps, and he meets his cousin, makes his way into the sanitarium, sees the facilities, has some food, meets the doctors and other staff members and patients, and finally makes his way into his bedroom for the night. And after this introduction, we finally get a little bit of backstory about Hans Castorp's life, and we learn about his childhood and upbringing, his education. We learn that both of his parents died at a very young age, and also that he's a fairly average person. Thomas Mann says he's neither a genius nor an idiot, but Mann is also clear to point out that he's also careful that he's not a mediocre person. He's just a very typical man of his time and country. And he's even a little above average. He does well in school, does fairly well in school. He becomes he aspires to become an engineer. His nerves at some point get the better of him. He's not necessarily ill or sick, but there might be some anxiety or stress or mild symptoms of something ailing him. And it's recommended that he takes a break, takes a vacation, and visits his cousin who is sick, and visits him at this sanitarium. We get great little details, like when he was very young, he would get a glass of porter at the beginning of each morning. He would have a glass of beer to start his day. So we get to learn a little bit about Hans Castorp. And we also start getting some pretty major themes that are going to run throughout the book, especially when we find ourselves back in the sanitarium with Hans after he wakes up after his first day arriving. And one of the themes and also topics of conversation in the book is the subject of time, the nature of time. And we already start to get these ironic juxtapositions between Hans's view of time, or his value of time, compared to his cousins, and also other patients and doctors that reside in the sanitarium. When Hans was first making his journey up, he was impatient. He didn't like that transitory period. He wanted it to be done with, and he just wanted to be at the top of the mountain. And even when he gets there, he's talking about how he's going to be there for 3 weeks, and then he's going to leave. And his cousin now has a totally different perception of time. He's talking about staying for 6 months and maybe staying another 6 months. It doesn't necessarily say that time is moving faster or slower, but that they are in some sort of eternal place. Time isn't even passing. And this comes up throughout the book, either through the description and narration of the story, or conversations or arguments that Hans has with other patients. There's the Italian person's name. Let me see if I can find it. It's Setem. Now I'm going to lose it, aren't I? Well, the Italian. I can't remember his name. And there's heated arguments. There's a point where the cousin says something to the effect of, you know, actually time felt a little slower, or it felt a little bit longer, and Hans was rigid and strangely heated about the idea that if time feels that it's moving slowly, it actually is moving slowly. And if it feels like time is moving quickly, that's because it really is. There's no universal, constant tick of time. That's his argument, which aligns with relativistic ideas of time and space-time, but not really on human scales. We don't really think that. But our perception of how time goes by is hard to argue. How do you say that a day that went by quickly didn't really go by quickly? It's really interesting conversations. And as this day goes on, when he wakes up and he meets his cousin, and they're going for walks and having their meals, and Hans is trying to acclimate himself, trying to be courteous and respectful, and not succeeding as much as he would like. He's he's knowingly abrasive and having a hard time getting along with people. Even the relationship that he has with his cousin is terrifically specific. It's so great that they don't talk as if they are strangers or associates or friends or brothers. It's very essentially a relationship of two cousins. They are family members, but not necessarily close. And the back and forth that they have, and the way that they approach one another, is just very reminiscent of family members that are a little bit more distant, which I think is terrific. And there's other just ironic details that I'll talk about just because I think they're amusing. Hans is talking about his cigars, his prized cigars. They're Maria Mancini's or something like that. I don't have it right in front of me, but and he wants to smoke these cigars, and he's talking about them and asking other people if they smoke and the joys of tobacco, and there's this really humorous evocation of all of the joy and pleasure of smoking this tobacco. And everyone that he's encountering, of course, are not smokers, and they're sick. These are people that have tuberculosis. They're in this sanitarium. They're trying to get better. And here's this man talking about puffing on these cigars. And the great irony is that so far that all of the cigars that he smokes once he's finally up in the sanitarium, are distasteful. He can hardly, he's throwing them out because they're so repugnant or offensive to his senses or sensibilities. Even the cigars that he does manage to finish, it's almost out of a sort of obligation. And we seem to kind of have a very busy, active story happening. There's walks and there's lots of people and there's conversations. We're in this cafeteria. Early in the morning, he decides at the sanitarium to have one of his glasses of beer that he likes to indulge in, and maybe because he's at the top of a mountaintop and he's not used to the altitude, or maybe there's other factors, but it goes to his head and he kind of gets himself blitzed. He has to go back to his room and take a nap that is the kind of nap where you wake up less restive or less rested than you did even beforehand. So it's groggy and grumpy, just a really bad start to the day. We see Hans kind of being judgmental and overly critical. There's a woman that bangs a door on the cafeteria hall. There's a woman that keeps drinking her yogurt. There's a woman that whistles out of her lung that is no longer in use, a lung that's been filled with nitrogen, and she learns how to whistle out of it, which he finds just grotesque. And it seems as if he's not getting along. He's not fitting in with this strange place that he's found himself. And I definitely marked something that I wanted to read. Well, I can't find it. I'm not going to stop now. So at some point, Hans says to his cousin, I don't think I can make the 3 weeks. I think I'm just gonna leave. I have to get out of here. And his cousin says to him, "You've only been here a day," which I think is so fabulous. All of the things that have happened, and it feels hurried and frenzied. There's been just a rush of senses, all these new people, an overload of experiences for Hans up in this place. And it's only been one day, and as soon as that registers, the next following thought is that not much has actually happened. They've woken up, they've gone on some walks, they've had some meals, and they've rested, and that's about it. And it's this fabulous intersection of this thematic element that I brought up at the beginning of this conversation, which is time. The way that time in this novel and in our experience, our living experience, can feel flexible depending on how we view it and where our perception is. Is it something that we are anticipating? Is it something that we are remembering, or something that we're going through? And all of those factors determines how we view time. We're almost 100 pages into this book, which is 700 pages long, and we still haven't gotten through one complete day at the sanitarium. So it's sort of a mind bender. That's all I'll say for now. There's lots of things have happened, and also not very much has happened. One day has gone by, and it feels very long, and it also feels like a blink of an eye. Let me know if you've been reading along and where you are in the book, and let me know if you have any thoughts or comments. Please leave them below. And I hope I've made some sense. So, our Magic Mountain read along. Thank you for watching. Bye.